everybody to Splat Chat episode 3. My name is Monica Hoyer. I'm the Director of Marketing at Email on Acid. With me today is Naomi West, Email Marketing Specialist at Invoice to Go. So Naomi, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit more about your background and what you're doing these days.
Yeah, so I've been doing email marketing since 2016. I started in the SaaS space, so I've been working kind of on a product, online product or subscription based marketing program since then. I've worked out of London in the UK at an automation platform called Braze as an onboarding manager there. So I got to work with a lot of cool clients as they migrated from one tool to the other. And yeah, I've been doing email marketing in-house back in Vancouver since 2019 now. And I'm currently at Invoice to Go, which is a San Francisco based fintech company.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we're excited to dive in and start talking about engaging content. We like to start these off with a lightning round of questions, and for this episode, we've gone with some questions that are a little bit off of what we've done in the past. So talk to me a little bit about teleportation or flying. Which would you do?
Definitely teleportation. I cannot stand waiting, so that would just be good if I could get from one place to another.
What about popcorn or M&Ms?
Popcorn. I have popcorn like every day.
Really?
So that's just a given. Yeah, every
day.
So
at the theater, do you have them add butter, or is it just?
Yeah, no, like butter definitely at the theater. At home, I just put some like nutritional yeast and salt on it. It's quite good, but butter's like a treat if I go to the theater.
Right. These days, we're not.
Yes.
Much. Would you rather give up your smartphone or your computer?
I would give up my smartphone. I think I like almost having all my notifications off on my smartphone. Mm-hmm. And so computer, you can just do more, bigger screen, more games. Online shopping is better.
That's true.
I would keep my computer and get rid of my phone.
Okay. So jumping into the questions and our topic for this Splat Chat around engaging content, historically speaking, we've had a mentality that batch and blast is a good way to reach customers. But now with personalization and segmentation, there's so many better ways to engage with our subscribers. What strategies do you use actually for peak engagement? And then maybe provide us with some strategies that you might recommend, because I think using and recommending could be slightly different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the newsletter has been this email that brands have felt that they've needed to send continuously or start to send because everyone else is doing it. And it also is this piece of content that creates a consistent touch point with their subscribers. But I do find that with a newsletter, there's not always a goal associated with it. And it is a difficult conversation for brands to say, all right, maybe the newsletter isn't doing what we want it to do. So taking your email strategy further beyond just this one batch and blast send that is often done in the form of a newsletter, and seeing where personalization and segmentation can come into play, I usually formulate the initial thinking back to the very main value prop of why your subscriber came to your list in the first place. And so I work in SaaS and in the e-commerce space quite often. So usually when I'm looking at strategies and why a user signed up, it's because they've signed up to a product or they've signed up to a subscription. With e-commerce, it could be that, they've purchased something. Maybe a subscriber came and signed up for a specific piece of content. And so when you're looking at how to create better email programs, you do need to keep that main promise that you made to your subscriber when you said, all right, come to our email list and we will give you, weekly updates, or we'll give you better advice on, let's say, social media strategy, something like that, and formulate your strategies based on that. So why did they initially come to your email program? Theorize, what are some tests you can come up with, and start running A/B tests. So maybe if you're an e-commerce company and your subscriber base, 90% originated from purchasing something, you could test the strategy that maybe, they want to repurchase, or maybe they want to learn about your brand. but what are the goals that you want to define as well? Because the strategies will depend on what you really want from that user as well. So if it's the goal of repurchase or long-term retention, you definitely want to encourage them in some way to go and repurchase. So maybe teasing the product that they had bought and what other users buy with that product. If it's you're trying to get them to refer a friend, maybe you want to put in some customer testimonials of how other people that use your product or have purchased from you feel about your product as well. So I would say if you want to explore new avenues of testing, see what data you have on your users, what you initially promised them, and just come up with some tests, because at the end of the day, there's no wrong way of going about building out a new program.
Right. And also what I heard you say is just make sure that you're holding true to that brand promise that you gave them at the beginning, and kind of going back to basics, right? Making sure that you're sticking to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what companies do you think are doing a good job in promoting engaging content?
Yeah, I am on like way too many email lists for being an email marketer myself. I sign up to everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what our industry is.
Yes. And like, I like seeing how other brands do it as well. So I'm always looking for like new areas of inspiration and seeing how brands kind of create not only like new designs, but how they speak to different industries and audiences. So me being in SaaS, like I gravitate towards a lot of like online tool newsletters because that's where I look to for inspiration. Broadly speaking, I think my favorite email program is Grammarly's. They have this hyper personalized automation report that is sent once a week outlining engagement statistics and where I stack up against them. So it'll be like, you're serious this week, or you've, used 80% more accuracy than our other users. And I obviously don't know if that's true or not, but I'm like, that's so cool. And I see that report come into my inbox, I think on a Monday morning, and I open it up every time. And I think the setup for that email probably was quite hefty to understand all these different data points that Grammarly holds on a user. But the end result is this really, really cool report. So I like that quite a bit. Other brands that I think are doing a good job, I mean, I'm also on another newsletter. It's Dan Oshinsky's Not a Newsletter, and he does this once a month roundup of email news that he'll send out as an email, but it links to a Google Doc. So it's completely different. It's a completely different strategy, but the value prop in both, I signed up to his because I wanted all this email news, and he's been consistently providing it for years now in the same format that is reflected in that value prop that he initially promised me. And same with Grammarly's. I signed up for a tool that was supposed to help me type better and formulate sentences as if I'm a highly educated person. And it's helped me not only like in its tool, but in the emails that it sends me. And I think it's really important.
What about the fear of, so for instance, on the Grammarly example that you gave us, do you have any fear around that data that they're collecting about you and what's happening with that?
I personally don't have too much fear. I mean, if they're collecting like how many periods I misuse, or like I don't have a comma in some of my sentences, I have to take a step back and think like, what are they actually going to do with that? Probably nothing. So it's not something I lose sleep over. And at the end of the day, it's a tool that helps me be a lot better. So if they do want to go in and target me with ads over people with bad grammar, they can do that, or try and pitch me like a dictionary here and there through a paid ad. I'm like, okay, if you guys really want to, you can. But yeah, I'm not too fearful of it.
Okay. Sorry, that was a little off topic, but
No, it's okay.
data and personalization really does go back to the information that these brands are collecting on us.
It does.
So it's definitely something I think that as email marketers, we have to keep top of mind when we are targeting our customers with any type of communication, whether it's email or in online advertising.
Yeah. I mean, foundationally, I think the foundations for email marketing are like, are you collecting the email address, and can you collect a user's first name to be able to put that in a subject line to say like, hey, Naomi, here's your new subscription. And that I think is like a baseline approach that all brands take. the Grammarly side is like the extreme. They are probably using every single piece of data that they collect on a user, such as, you know, they logged in, when was their last purchase, how many times did they type out this word, like they are using everything. And I think it's a use case where I'm not fearful of what they're doing with that data.
Well, in reality, that's where our personalization and segmentation comes in. We want these highly personalized messages from brands, but at the same time, there is that fear of what is this information? What are they doing with this information? So there's a balance between how personal do we get and how impersonal do we get, because people are asking for that personalization. But at the end of the day, they also don't want to give up too much of their data. So I will say I'm more fearful outside of email as a channel. Like when I see things popping up in my Instagram feed, if I'm researching a book and the next day it's on my Instagram feed, that's when it freaks me out. I'm like, wait a second, how did you get this? Whereas email, I've kind of said like, yes, I want to hear from you. And in my mind, when I opt into a specific tool like Grammarly, I'm like, tell me everything. Like, how can I be better? Help me. So with email, I feel better about it. It's the other channels like Instagram when I see an ad pop up that I was thinking about, but I didn't say. Yeah, that's a great
freaks
point.
me out.
That's a great point. You've given them the permission to provide that information to you and on a highly personalized level. And actually that relays nicely into, what about the interactive emails like forms and sliders? Do you think those can provide a boost in email engagement?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us have like this inner child within us where we are drawn to forms of interactivity because it's fun. It's not like this plain text boring thing that we glance over once. I personally love any kind of dynamic element within an email, whether it be like an image with my name caked into it. Really good emails does this quite frequently. I think they lean on nifty images to create a dynamic header with my name, Naomi, on it, or an in-email survey where it's kind of an easy one-click piece. These are all things that are eye-catching to me, and I'm like, oh, cool, like this is fun. But I do understand, like with these new dynamic elements, there is a learning curve as well. I think with AMP for email starting to ramp up, I catch myself like in a learning moment quite often. One example that I can give is like the other day as an end user with a Google Doc email, you know, you get the notification that is like, so-and-so commented on your Google Doc, and it allows you to respond directly to the comment in your inbox. I had this moment where I paused and I was like, wait, should I respond from my email, or is it more beneficial if I open up the Google Doc and see the full context? And obviously responding in the email to the comment was time saving, but it caught me off guard. So I think as a marketer, you have to still put yourself in your user's shoes and understand, you know, there is a learning curve with these dynamic pieces, especially with newsletters where your audience, you know, it can be segmented and it can be personalized, but broadly speaking, it's going to be a larger group of users, and they won't maybe all be on the same page with that excitement for interactivity or knowledgeable of what it is. It could be like, how did you get this? Or like, what is this? Or if it links you out to another kind of page, it could be a hoop to jump through. So design wise, it looks really cool. And I think if you have a user base that is tech savvy, it's going to have great results, but you do have to keep in mind that it's something new for everyone too.
Yeah, I also noticed that Facebook tends to do that, like so-and-so commented on your post, but then they don't give you the context in the email. So you have to click through to get into the application in order to see what happened. And that's all about driving engagement and being in their software and in their application. And so, yeah, I think that there's, you know, we as email marketers, especially, we want to drive a certain behavior, and what is the ultimate outcome of that behavior. And so that's where that interactivity has to come to play, is what is your end goal, essentially.
Yeah. What is your end goal? And another thing that I try and think of is in line with your Facebook example, like, are you being sneaky in your end goal too? Like, is this going to, as an end user, is it going to be annoying to receive this email, like frustrating that you don't know exactly what's happening? And I get the strategy that you're driving users into the app, but I get an email like that and I'm like, what is it? I don't want to go through another hoop.
Yes.
So it just depends on who you want to be to as a marketer, if it aligns with your brand to be on the sneakier side or like the Google Doc side where it gives you a snippet of
Right.
what you're responding to.
I just opened one of those Facebook messages. That's why it's top of mind for me. I just opened one today, and because I was hoping that they changed their strategy.
Nope.
They didn't. No.
Same.
Just in case you were wondering, don't bother opening those.
It doesn't surprise me. I'm like,
Right.
that, I get it.
Talk to me about design and content and some tips you might have for enticing customers to read or click through an email, especially in newsletters.
I think when I'm thinking about design and content, it always goes back to the main issue of accessibility and making the email as accessible as possible for all audiences. And I cannot stress this enough. I've worked with brands that make these beautifully aesthetically pleasing image only emails with their custom fonts and fun graphics. But if your user can't even read or view that email due to having images off or troubles reading non-left aligned text, or their Wi-Fi connection is slow so the images don't load, you're completely out of luck. And if you have a massive email that is so nice to look at and you're like, my products are displayed beautifully and the font matches my website, if your email then clips, you won't even know if your email was opened. And if your button is built onto an image and a subscriber who relies on a screen reader or who has their images off, you won't have that click through because they will never see that button. So my recommendation when it comes to design and content is striking a balance between that beautiful imagery and design and that accessibility element, and asking yourself the question, if this image doesn't load, am I okay with the user never seeing this piece? Is it going to significantly impact the value of my email if I lose out on this design, this beautiful design? So
right.
Yeah, accessibility.
Yeah, and if it doesn't impact it, then you got to go back to the drawing board.
You have to go back to the drawing board. Yeah. And two, like, there's obviously so many inboxes out there, so many different, like you've got mobile and you've got dark mode and you have regular desktop. And an email could look really, really good on a specific inbox on your desktop, but those emojis and anything you use could be translated horribly to an Android mobile device. So you have to keep in mind your entire audience base, unless you know that every single person reads email on like Apple Mail.
Right, or be willing to sacrifice a portion of your
Yeah.
Data, moving over to the data side of things. So you've got your email created, you've got it sent out, it looks beautiful in all devices, it's accessible, that kind of thing. Now we're moving to data. So you've sent the email, you're looking at your numbers, and data really talks about what's resonating, what works and what doesn't work with your users. How are you using metrics, and what metrics are most important to you to determine future campaigns, as well as how do they affect what you're creating in terms of engaging experiences for customers?
Yeah, so I think this once again kind of goes back to the main initial value prop that you pitch to your subscriber, and then what the goals you have are as a brand. So if I'm thinking about an initial welcome email, usually the data that I'm looking at for that initial piece that reaches your subscriber right away when they enter your email list is going to be, open rate. Are they receiving that email? Is it landing in their main inbox? Is the subject line resulting in them, clicking through to opening the email? And then the very main value prop as a brand. So if I'm an e-commerce business and I'm capturing a user when they opt into the email program, I probably want them to then go and purchase a product right away. I want them to go buy like a new dress or a new smoothie or something like that. So that main call to action is going to be relating to that conversion event, like buy now. So I want to not only track, is a user receiving email from a deliverability standpoint and clicking through it, but how is it then driving to conversion? So the metrics, I think, from a high level are always going to be, the open rate. How is the subject line converting? And then the click-through rate. What is the call to action in the email? And I don't think all emails actually require a call to action. If you're creating a newsletter that is simply meant to deliver value within the email itself, you probably don't need to be measuring click through because there's nothing to click through. But you also have unsubscribe rate, which I think will tell you if the email is resonating with that value prop that you initially said you'd provide the user. And then you have your bottom of funnel metrics as well. So it could be anything relating to that purchase event or that conversion event that provides you as a brand or business revenue, straight through to if you're coming up with a really engaging onboarding series, your product, and you want to showcase, over 3 emails across a week period. Maybe you have a specific event that relates to activation, or an event that tells you as a brand, like, this user is going to be a retained user because they've done some event X amount of times. So yeah, every email I think needs to have a specific metric that'll say if it is successful or not, unless it's an email that provides the value within the copy itself.
So making sure that you think about that when you're actually creating the email, so that you know what that measure of engagement should, or what you're really trying to measure there.
Yeah, and all brands are unique too, right? If you, ideally as a brand, you have a unique, I guess, proposition, right? You're selling something that no one else is selling. You're a product that is solving a specific problem that no one else is solving. So the benchmarks that you lean on, that other brands might lean on, aren't going to be like a one size fits all for you as a business. So I think you can look to certain data metrics from Google to mark as red flags to watch out for. Like if your unsubscribe rate goes over X%, that's something to watch out for. But an ideal conversion rate will be always unique to you. So just keeping that in mind, you have to figure out what programs will best suit your business, and then what events your audience, I guess, fits in with most, because your audience is going to be unique as well. So the conversion rate should be unique to them too.
Right. So one of the questions that we ask as we're kind of wrapping things up is, what's your piece of advice to give teams to boost their email engagement in 2021?
My one piece of advice is always to let go of subscribers that no longer serve you. I think there's a fear of, if you let people off of your email list, even just leaving them out of sends based on engagement, that you're losing out on this like clout of a massive list, or you're losing out on, maybe someone hasn't opened your email in a year, but maybe they'll convert, right? But I think, a smaller list size doesn't always equate to less success, and people change and interests change. And if you're a brand that sells mini fridges, unless you have like an amazing educational email experience that talks about, the foods that thrive in mini fridges or how to clean them best, or you're probably going to get like a lot of email subscriptions around the time that university students move into their dorm rooms, and then they'll never need a fridge again. So you have to be able to look at your subscriber base and be able to come to terms with letting them go after a period of time is okay when they stop interacting with your emails. And letting people go won't hurt you, but them marking you as spam, or them unsubscribing in masses, or them continuously deleting without opening your emails, that will hurt you in the long run. So just keeping that in mind, that letting go is healthy.
Yes.
It's very, very healthy.
Not just an email.
Not just an email. Very applicable to multiple situations.
Exactly. But we're not here to give life advice, just email advice. So with that, fill us in on any closing comments, brand pitches, personal promotions, things that you've got going on from an email perspective in your career, and with Invoice to Go.
Yeah, so I am speaking at AdWorld from May 3rd to 5th coming up on iterating on email engagement statistics. So the basics that we all have in front of us. So if you'd like to tune in there, you are welcome to. I'm quite active on LinkedIn as well. So I share a lot of like favorite tools that I've come across in the email world, as well as articles that I found very helpful to me as an email marketer. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn as well if you would like.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Naomi. And thanks to everyone for watching this episode of Splat Chat.
Thanks for having me.
If you're looking for more email marketing insights, head on over to emailonacid.com. Check out our blog for articles, infographics, and more, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see who's on our next episode. Email on Acid is an email pre-deployment platform for email teams of all sizes. We are on a mission to make the complexities of email marketing simpler and help you deliver email perfection. With Email on Acid, you get unlimited testing, accessibility, and end-to-end content checks, inbox display optimization, deliverability insights, and plenty of other amazing features. It's all designed to give email teams more flexibility and give you confidence when you hit that send button. Try us out with a free 7-day trial or request a custom demo. Just head on over to emailonacid.com. We will see you next time.